I think I would add in the word consistency there, as in, there's a saying that goes something like this: the spiritual person does spiritual things naturally and natural things spiritually. And when you're working with your grandchildren, there needs to be this seamless progression in life between here we're in the kitchen, we're having fun, but Jesus is still here. God is in the mix. Literally.
So there's no division.
You can say, let's pray about this or whatever. You want it to be natural.
And so everything you do in the natural, there's got to be a spiritual dimension to it. Yeah. And when you do spiritual things, it can't be this awkward hiatus where you're shouting or out of control or not in a good place 1 minute and say, okay, we've got to pray now and read the Bible before your mummy comes around or something like that. That's just,
it can be confusing.
Well, it is. It's just, it's on a natural jump into a different kind of mode, and the child thinks, where's all this come from? This doesn't stack up with the rest of the day I've spent with my grandparents. So there's got to be this ease and this flow across everything, that everything is done spiritually. And when you do spiritual things, it's natural. It's not a preach or a rant or you've got to do this because God says you've got to. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can happen like that. Parents can be like this and grandparents can be like this. You want to be good-natured and peaceful, or have the right kind of nature all the way through, so that when you do spiritual things, of course, why wouldn't we? And when you do natural things, the spiritual dimension is always there in those things. And if I see any failing with parents and grandparents, it's in that area. There are those that it's all too natural. There's nothing spiritual about it, except we go to church, we enter into this different mode, or there's this awkward jump between what appears to be spiritual and then everything else, and there isn't this ease and this flow where everything is natural and spiritual all at the same time. And that's what I think you're trying to achieve. So some right, we'll have our Bible reading now, that's our spiritual bit, and then we'll do this other stuff. But somehow the Bible's got to be in all the other stuff. And it's got to work all the way through, and they've got to know that when you're caring, your grandchildren have got to see somehow that when you're caring for them, there's something about you that's different. There's something about you that's different to the neighbour or that other relative who doesn't know God. You're different. You're smiling when they're not. Every time we meet you, you're being positive and encouraging. I think is one of the most important things. I remember when one of our children went to work in their first professional role, they came home after the first week and says, "Everyone is so negative at work. I'm not used to this. I'm used to being in an environment where everyone's so positive." I thought, well, I'm glad you're used to being in that environment, but maybe we haven't prepared you well enough. But it was a baptism of fire for them, really. So I think to have a positive, encouraging environment where you speak well of each other and speak the best to each other and for each other is really important as families to grow up in that atmosphere. And I think through that, your values, what you hold as important and dear, really come through in that setting.